I'll share. Okay. So Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam to everyone. So first of all, uh, welcome to the class. And so today the Kartik Mass is starting. So happy Kartik Mass to each and every devotee. I mean, it's my pleasure to actually be giving a class on the first day of Kartik. So that's a big fortune. So I would like to thank Praveen Prabhu and the Gachibowli Satsang group for this opportunity. So today we will, today we will talk about the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, last week, Santosh Aditya Prabhuji had discussed about the 7th chapter. So this week, today I'll talk about the 8th chapter, and this 8th chapter is one of the important chapters because it contains the prayers of Kunti Maharani. So we will discuss those prayers as well. So before we start, let's start with a kirtan. Um, if you want, you can sing with me. Or repeat after me. So I unfortunately I don't have any kartal and I don't know to play it. So I'll just sing. So Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So let's begin with the prayers. Om Jnanati Virandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum Ilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakkamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Uh, so I'll repeat the praise from Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गौ ब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, Prabhujis and Matajis, thank you for joining the class. So today we are going to discuss, I'll share my screen, just give me a second. So today we are going to talk about the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the chapter title is Prayers by Queen Kunti and Parikshit Saved. So, so the most important part in this chapter is actually the prayers by Kunti Maharani. And Kunti Maharani is a very exalted devotee of the Lord. She is the aunt of the Lord, I mean, or Bhua of the Lord. In Hindi, we call it Bhua. And so she is basically the sister of Vasudev, and hence, and uh, so so before we start, I mean, I would just want to talk about Kunti Maharani. So let's understand who is Kunti Maharani, and let's see the background of all this. So in this 8th chapter, actually, where the situation is like in the last chapter, as we saw, um, Ashwadhama had killed the sons of Draupadi in a very brutal way, and despite of that, Draupadi forgives Ashwatthama, and so the Mahabharata war has ended, and this is after the war. Ashwadhama actually killed the sons of Draupadi, and then he was punished. And now in this chapter, Lord Shri Krishna, and since the war has ended and Maharaj Yudhishthir has ascended the throne of the world, um, Lord Shri Krishna is actually planning to leave for Dwarka, where he is the king. And when he's going to leave, Ashwadhama again actually releases a Brahmastra. I mean, he shamelessly releases a Brahmastra and trying to kill Parikshit Maharaj, who is in the womb of Uttara. Uttara is actually wife of Abhimanyu, and Abhimanyu is son of Arjuna. So Uttara is actually daughter-in-law of the Pandus. and Pandavas. And so this is the setting. And so now let's understand who is Kunti Maharani. So basically, the Kunti Maharani, I mean, it's a little tragic, and she's a tragic and a heroic figure in Mahabharata. And it's a Mahabharata is actually a India's grand epic poem, which has more than 1 lakh couplets in Sanskrit. And Kunti was actually wife of King Pandu and mother of 5 illustrious sons known as the Pandavas. Um, Now Pandu is the younger brother of Dhritarashtra, and Pandu became the king because his elder brother Dhritarashtra was born blind, a condition, I mean, that excluded him from succession, because if you are blind you cannot become the king. So sometime after Pandu had ascended the throne, Dhritarashtra married Gandhari, right? And he fathered 100 sons. So that lineage is called as the Kaurava dynasty. Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and his 100 sons, they are called as the Kauravas. And Pandu had two wives, namely Madri and Kunti. Originally, Kunti was named as Pritha. So we see that in Bhagavad-Gita also. Lord Shri Krishna um, addresses Arjuna as O son of Pritha, right? So originally her name is Pritha, and she was the daughter of Surasena, the glorious chief of the Yadu dynasty. And what Mahabharata says is Kunti was gifted with beauty and character, and she actually rejoiced. I mean, she knew the law and dharma very well, and was very determined to follow it. She was very great in her vows, and she was given a unusual benediction. Um, Actually, when she was a child, her father Surasena had given her in adoption to his childless cousin and close friend uh, called Kunti Bhoja, and hence the name Kunti. Right, her original name is Pritha, and since she was given in adoption to a close friend Kunti Bhoja, her name is also Kunti. Now, in the stepfather's house, Kunti used to look after the guest. So one day, Durvasa Muni visited the kingdom of Kunti Bhoja, and Kunti served Durvasa Muni very selflessly. And Durvasa Muni was very happy with her service, and foreseeing that she would have difficulty in conceiving, Durvasa Muni gave her a benediction that she could invoke any demigod and obtain a progeny from them. Okay, so this is how she got this benediction. Now, after Kunti married Pandu, Pandu was actually cursed that he cannot beget children. So what Pandu did was he renounced the throne and he retired to the forest. Now, uh, so in the forest, actually, on the I mean, the Pandu Maharaj asked Kunti to beget children, and knowing about her benediction, she asked her to beget children. So first, she invoked Yamraj or Dharmaraj, and who is the demigod of religion. And after worshipping him, he got Kunti Maharani begot a child named Yudhishthira. Actually, the name Yudhishthira was given. I mean, it was a Akashvani, you can say, that this child be called Yudhishthira, right? And the Yudhishthira was splendid. He was very determined, renounced, and he was and I mean that was the prediction which was made, that he will be renounced and he will be famous throughout the three worlds. Now, after begetting Yudhishthira, Pandu asked Kunti to beget a child with great physical strength. So then Kunti invoked Vayudev, okay, the demigod of wind, and she begot Bhima. And Bhima's qualities were that he would be the foremost of all strong men. So he would be the strongest among the men. And then Pandu again consulted the great sages in the forest and then asked Kunti to beget a third child from Indra. And so Kunti observed austerities for 1 year, and then she begot Arjuna. Now Arjuna was, I mean, he was the benediction, or the the prediction was made that Arjuna will spread the fame of Kunti across, and he will acquire many divine weapons. So this way, Kunti begot 3 children, and then Kunti helped Madri to beget 2 children who were named Nakula and Sahadev. So these 5 brothers, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev, they are known as Pandavas. Now, as time passed, Pandu actually died as a result of the curse, and Madri gave up her life by ascending his funeral pyre. So what was left is Kunti was left with 5 young children, and the after this, the sages in the forest actually brought them back to Hastinapur, which is near Delhi in the present day. And there, under the guidance of Dhritarashtra, these children started growing, right? And actually under the guidance of Dhritarashtra and the noble Vidura, who was Pandu's half brother, right? Now the thing was, like, since Pandu was the king, his son, eldest son, should become the king. That was what the succession rule was earlier. But the eldest, I mean, Dhritarashtra was initially, he recognized that Yudhishthira should become the king, but then after being used by his son Duryodhana, he was not ready to give the throne to Yudhishthira. And so as the time passed, Duryodhana actually plotted against the Pandavas, and he used the weak Dhritarashtra, and he made several attempts on the life of the Pandavas. So this so this is the background, and what resulted in this is there was a war. I mean, there was a gambling match which happened, which caused the I mean, the Pandavas were cheated of their kingdom, and they were sent out to exile for 13 years. And when they came back and asked for their kingdom back, Duryodhana flatly refused. They tried all the ways, and even sent Sri Krishna to actually negotiate so that they could at least get 5 villages. But again, Duryodhana was not ready to give it. So this resulted in the war of Mahabharata, fierce war, which lasted for 18 days, and almost everybody were killed except for a few, which included the Pandavas. And so that is the state, right? So as I said, right, Lord Shri Krishna is now leaving for Dwarka, and this is what is the background. So this whole thing is the background of Kunti Maharani. So she had to suffer a lot, even though she is the aunt of the Supreme Lord, but she suffered a lot, and was always threatened or always under danger from the Kauravas. And so this is the background. Let me share my screen now. Yeah, you can see my screen, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so we'll so the prayers of Kunti actually start from 18th shloka. So we'll quickly go over these translations for the first few of these texts, and then we will go to those prayers. So we'll mainly discuss the prayers of Kunti Maharani in this chapter. So so text 1, Sutta Goswami said, thereafter the Pandavas, desiring to deliver water to the dead relatives who had desired it, went to the Ganges with Draupadi. The ladies walked in front. Having lamented over them and sufficiently offered Ganges water, they bathed in the Ganges, whose water is sanctified due to being mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. So as you can see, the war has ended, and then they are actually doing the ceremony for those people who are dead, right? And there sat the king of the Kurus, Maharaj Yudhishthira, along with his younger brothers and Dhritarashtra, Kunti, and Draupadi, all overwhelmed with grief. Lord Krishna was also there. Citing the stringent laws of the Almighty and their reactions upon living beings, Lord Shri Krishna and the Munis tried to pacify those who were shocked and affected. So this all describes all of this. Now let's go to text. So Lord Shri Krishna then prepared for his departure. As I said, he's going to leave Hastinapur and go to Dwarka. He invited the son of Pandus after having been worshipped by the Brahmanas, headed by Srila Vyasdev. The Lord also reciprocated greetings. Now, as soon as he seated himself on the chariot to start for Dwarka, he saw Uttara hurrying towards him in fear. So now, as he's leaving, Uttara came running towards the Lord, and she said this. Uttara said, "O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality." So Uttara is came running and is asking for protection. Now, protection from what? "Oh my Lord, you are all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire, but please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord." So Uttara is asking the Lord to protect her son, who is, Uttara is pregnant, and Maharaj Parikshit is in the womb, and Uttara is asking the Lord to protect her child. Now you can see the love of the mother. She's saying that let if you don't want to save me, that is okay, but please save my son. So this shows the love of the mother, right? So now, going further, Sutta Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Shri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Ashwathama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family. Now, you can see in the last chapter, Ashwathama had brutally killed the sons of Draupadi, and Draupadi had forgiven him. Now, still, this shameless Ashwathama has released another Brahmastra to kill the last life in the Pandava family, right? The lineage of, he wants to destroy the lineage of the Pandavas, right? Now, so what did Lord do? The Lord, the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees, who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshana disc to protect them. So the Lord always protects his devotees. So he even personally comes down to save them, right? We see many examples in Bhagavatam where the Lord personally comes down to save his devotees. And this is another example where the Lord personally protected his devotee, right? So he immediately entered the womb of Uttara and neutralized the Brahmastra, because the Brahmastra, when confronted by the strength of Vishnu, it got neutralized. So this is how Lord saved Maharaj Parikshit. And Maharaj Parikshit, even before being born, got the darshan of the Lord. So that is what that was what his fortune was, that even before being born, he could directly see the Lord. I mean, face to face, right? The Lord came face to face to Maharaj Parikshit. So that was the fortune of Maharaj Parikshit. And so you can see this. There is one more thing which I would want to point out is, so here, who is speaking? Sutta Goswami is speaking to whom? Shaunaka Adi Rishi, right, in Naimisharanya. So Sutta Goswami is telling those munis, right, Shaunaka specifically, I mean, that this is how the Lord saved Uttara. So it just gives a background. you can see here also he's mentioning, Sutta Goswami is mentioning, "Oh Shaunaka, glory of Brigu's family." Although, so you can see that Sutta Goswami is reciting to Shaunaka Adi Rishis in Naimisharanya. Now let's go into the uh, prayers of Kunti Maharani. So the prayers start from text 18, right? Thus saved from the radiation of the Brahmastra, Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord, and her 5 sons and Draupadi addressed Lord Krishna as he started for home. So now from here we'll look into the details and we'll read the shloka also. So the prayers of Kunti is actually are very deep philosophically, theologically, and they are amongst the first prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. And it consists of 26 verses, starting from verse 18 till the end of the chapter. And these prayers are really very deep and beautiful, because and you might I mean, I am not 100% sure, but there are very few prayers by women, right? I mean, at least in Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is one of the best prayers of Kunti Maharani, and it's very deep, and the sages till date, I mean, everybody recites these prayers, and sages like to recite these prayers, and it is noted in Bhagavatam. I mean, that's one of the biggest thing, right? So let's start with this. Kunti uvacha namasya purusham tvadyam ishwaram prakrate param aleksham sarva bhutanam antar bahir avasthitam. So what is it's saying? So what is Kunti Maharani saying? Srimati Kunti said, "O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality. You are the original personality, Purusham, right? Tvadyam, Purusham, right? Original, the supreme person, and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. Ishwaram Prakrate Param. Prakrate Param means Prakrati is the material cosmos, and Param means beyond. So you are beyond this material cosmos. And you are Ishwaram, the controller, right? You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all. So Antar Bahir, that is what it means. Antar Bahir means within, and Bahir means outside, right? Bahir means outside, within or without, right? And Avasthitam means existing. And Alaksham means you are invisible. Invisible to whom? Sarva Bhutanam. You are invisible to everyone, right? Invisible Bhutanam is the living beings. So you are invisible to all of them. Now let's read the purport a little bit. So basically what she's saying is that you are the supreme controller and you are beyond this material cosmos. So you can see the understanding which Kunti Maharani has about Lord Krishna, right? She understands that though the Lord is standing before her and is her nephew, but he's not an ordinary person. And hence Kunti Maharani is considered to be a very intelligent woman because she understands the position of the Lord. She can understand that the Lord is beyond this material cosmos. I mean, in Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord says that, right? To understand me, I mean, it takes ages, right? You spend, nobody can understand Krishna, but Kunti Maharani has a very good I mean, she understands that Lord is the supreme Lord, and though he's standing before me as my nephew, he's not an ordinary person. So that's what Kunti is saying here. And when she's saying Antar Bahir, like the Lord is present within us, I mean, she understands that the Lord is present within her also as Paramatma. And the Lord is even outside, right? He's standing in front of her, but even the cosmic manifestation which she's seeing is just part of the Lord, right? That is her understanding that the Lord is within and outside as well. And the Lord is invisible, though he's present everywhere. He's still invisible to the living entities. Now, why is that? That will be explained in the next shloka. I mean, she will explain why they are not, we are not able to see the Lord, right? Right? And we can see this in Bhagavad-Gita 15.15, right? I am situated in everyone's heart and only due to me, right? If you remember the shloka, it is, I can click on this. Yeah, sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedescha sarver aham vedyo sarve vedyo vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. Right? I am situated in everyone's heart, and through me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And I am to be known from the Vedas. And that is what even Kunti Maharani is saying here. Let's move on. So now, why cannot we see the Lord? So she says that Maya Maya Java Nikachanam Agnya Adokshajam Avyayam Na Lakshasya Mudadrisha Nato Natyadharo Yatha. So this is what, being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are eternally irreproachable factor covered by curtain of deluding energy. So the Lord covers the living entities in a curtain of deluding energy, and hence we cannot see the Lord. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. Correct? So what she's saying is, you are covered with, I mean, the Lord covers the living entity. We get covered by our lusty desires, by our greed, by our tendency to enjoy the material nature, and hence we cannot see the Lord. But someone who is surrendered to the Lord can see him very easily, as Kunti Maharani could see the Lord very easily because she was a devotee of the Lord. She could see the Lord very easily. And she's comparing this to the actor, because I mean, if you see a certain actor on the stage, you may not know that, oh, is this the person? Okay, so that is what she's comparing it. And so then next question is, how do we approach the Lord, or how do we see the Lord then, right? We are covered by these lusty desires and all of this. So the simple process is given for us, right? We studied that in Nectar of Devotion, right? Atadi namadi Krishna. I don't remember. Sevan mukhe hi jivvado, right? When you start serving the Lord through your tongue. Now, how do you serve the Lord through the tongue? By chanting his names, by tasting the prasadam offered to the Lord, by eating the prasadam offered to the Lord. So once you start that process, slowly you can start seeing the Lord, right? So the covering, the material covering can be removed when we start chanting, or when we start engaging our tongue in the service of the Lord. So that is the process to actually see the Lord and remove the curtain of Maya, which Kunti Maharani is saying, because of which we cannot see the Lord. And even the Lord says in Bhagavad-Gita that, right, the fools deride him when he comes to this world. And we can clearly see that though the Lord was present before everybody, only few people could recognize him as the Supreme Lord, right? Like Bhishma could recognize, Kunti could recognize, but none of them, like Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana, could understand that he is the Supreme Lord, and we are trying to fight with him. So that is what Kunti Maharani is saying here, that the Lord covers the conditioned soul by a curtain of Maya, and hence we cannot see him. Let's move on. So going forward, she says, Tatha param hansa nam muninam amala atmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartham katham pashyame hi striya. Okay, so you yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service onto the hearts of advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? So Kunti Maharani is saying here that you she's giving an why the Lord actually descends, that to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service. So uh, and onto the hearts of advanced transcendentalists. Paramhansanam. Param means one who is advanced, and Hamsanam. Hamsa is a bird, right? The bird, the Hamsa bird is actually known, like if you give a Hamsa bird milk mixed with water, it can separate out the milk and leave the water. Similarly, the Paramhamsas, like they leave the material world and only take the spiritual aspect of the world. So those Paramhamsas or the Muninam, Munis are the great philosophers, and Amala Atmanam, those whose minds are competent to discern between spirit and matter. So Amala Atmanam, Muninam, and Paramhamsanams are the people who can understand you. And how do they understand you? Through Bhakti Yoga. You cannot be understood through any other process. You can only be understood through devotional service. Then how can I am a woman, so how can I understand you? That she's showing her humility, that even I am a simple woman, how can I understand you, my Lord? But we can see that Kunti Maharani is actually the most intelligent, right? As I said earlier also, that she is the most intelligent and she can understand the position of the Lord. Now, there is this controversy, which, I mean, like we see that generally it is said that the women are less intelligent, right? But everything has a context, right? So we have to also understand the I mean, the Vedas say this. I'm sorry. The Vedas mention that women are less intelligent, but there is always a context to anything, right? When, let's say, there is a cricket match going on. Now, if you say kya hua, I mean, what is the score, right? There is a context that the cricket match is going on. Hence, this question makes sense, right? Similarly, the Vedas, when they say that the women are less intelligent, the context here is in terms of spiritual understanding. It doesn't mean that the women are less intelligent than men in terms of the material, or I mean, generally people just think like that, right? So the context here is the women are less intelligent in spiritual matters, and we have seen the reasons being given are like they need to be attached, right? They need to take care of the family. So the Lord has created them that way, that they get attached to things, and hence they can run the family, right? Because without a woman you cannot run the family. They are, and the Vedas, actually the Vedas give too much, I mean, give not too much, I'm sorry, the Vedas give importance for the protection of women. They give importance to make sure that the women are happy, and they say that if in a house the women are not happy, then that house cannot have any prosperity. So the Vedas give uh, I mean, consider women to be very, very important part of the family, and it's just in terms of spiritual understanding, the Vedas say that women are less intelligent. So that is our should be the understanding, and the reason behind that is the Lord wanted it that way because He created them so that they can be attached to the family, they can be attached to the children, and can take care of the children, right? So that's what Kunti Maharani is saying, that I am a woman, how can I understand you? Somebody who can be understood only by the Paramansas and Amala Atmanam, right? So this shows the humility of Kunti Maharani, that uh, she's though I mean, though she understands the Lord and is very, very clear, but she is presenting herself with great humility, and that's what pleases the Lord also, right? The devotees of the Lord generally don't want to show that they are advanced, right? They would say, oh, we don't understand, we would want to learn more, right? So they are always humble, and the Lord likes it that way, right? Let's move ahead. Okay, now she's further describing the Lord. This is what she is now giving the address of the Lord. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaye Namo Nama. So now what is she talking about? She is saying, let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavana, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. So she is now describing the personal aspects of the Lord. She's saying that you are the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. You are Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, right? You are the cowherd. You are Nanda's cowherd men, right? Kumaraya, unto their son, right? You are the son of Nanda, and you are the one who gives pleasure to the cows and the senses, and hence I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So she is now describing the personal aspects of the Lord. And if you see her, the Lord gives pleasure to the cows and the senses. The Lord actually is very pleased when with two things, right? The cows being happy and the brahmanas being happy or protected, right? So these are the two things which are needed if you want prosperity and happiness in life. The cows must be happy and the brahmanas must be happy. So when these things happen, there is prosperity in all around. Now you can see in the present day, the cows are being slaughtered, and the brahmanas, though the brahmana class itself has gone down, they are still, I mean, the brahmanical culture of has gone down, and we can see all kinds of problems in today's modern society. And these are the two most important things if we want to bring back happiness and peace in our life: protection of the cows, and making sure that the brahmanas are protected and happy. So and unfortunately today in India we can see that the cows are getting slaughtered, and the brahmana class is actually neglected and abused, and there are very few brahmanas also left, uh, and that is causing a lot of chaos in the society. All right. uh, any questions till now? No. Okay, let's move on. Again, so the next shloka, again she's describing the now she had described the parents of the Lord and his address, right? Now she's getting into the details, the personal aspects of the Lord. She's saying, Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, Nama Pankaja Maline, Nama Pankaja Netraya, Namaste Pankajangrahe. So Nama Pankaja Nabhaya, my respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses. So, so you can see that Kunti Maharani is saying that the Lord, your navel is like a lotus, your hands are like lotus, your eyes are like lotus, and your feet are like lotus. Now, generally, when we take darshan of the Lord, we start from the feet, right? But here you can say, you can see that Kunti Maharani is starting from the navel of the Lord, then going to the hands, then looking at the face, and then finally to the feet, right? Now, the reason being, Kunti Maharani is the aunt of Krishna, and Krishna is younger to her, and she feels that the Lord might get embarrassed if I start with the feet, right? Because she is elder, and the aunt, the Lord might feel embarrassed if I directly first I talk about the feet, and hence she talks about the feet of the Lord at the last. But for us devotees, we start from the feet of the Lord and then we go up, right? But you can see that this is just like a circle, right? So in the circle, no matter from where you start, so for her that is applicable, but for us we generally start from the feet of the Lord and then go up. um, okay, so she is now she had just described the beauty or the personal beauty of the Lord. Going forward, now she will talk about the dangers which she faced and how the Lord protected her. She's expressing her gratitude to the Lord through this praise now. So in this, let's look at what she's saying. Yata Rishikesha Khalena Devaki Kamsena Ruddha Atichiram Su Chara Pita Vimochitam Sa Vimochitam Cha Sahatmaja Vibho Tvayagya Tvayvya Nathena Muhur Vipad Ganat. So, O Rishikesha, master of the senses and lord of the lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. So, here the word Khalena is important, right? So Khalena is being envious. So she's saying, O Rishikesha, the master of the senses, uh, you had protected your mother. You released your mother from the bondage of Kamsa, right? Ruddha Atichiram. He had Ruddha Atichiram means he had imprisoned your mother for a long time, and you protected me and my children. Nathena is the protector, and Vipatgana from a series of dangers, right? So you protected me and my children from a series of dangers. Now, if you see that, look at it, the Lord did not save the sons of Devaki, right? But for Kunti Maharani, he protected the sons of Kunti every time. Now, why is that? The acharyas say that Devaki had, I mean, Devaki's husband Vasudev was there with him, right? So hence, and she could beget children from Vasudev, and but for Kunti, Pandu Maharaj had already died, and there was no one apart from the Lord to protect Kunti, and hence you can see that. Uh, the Lord protected Kunti and her children at every step and every danger. So it's the same point, right? The Lord will always protect his devotees, and he can personally come down to do that, and that is what Kunti Maharani is saying here, that you had protected your mother, and you had also protected me and my children from all the dangers. Now, again, another important point here is Devaki is the mother of Lord Shri Krishna, right? But she also had to face a lot of difficulties. So so the lesson from this is that no matter what it is, this material world, you will always get difficulties, and the difficulties will come, but the Lord, if you have faith, the Lord will always protect you, and the difficulties come based on our past karmas, right? They just come um, due to those past karmas, and the Lord makes sure that the devotee, in fact, like you can to take an example, probably you needed to be, because you did some karma and you needed to be killed, but only your finger is cut or a small cut happens in your finger. So that's how the Lord actually reduces the punishment also for the devotee. I mean, you might be required to be hit by a stone, but the Lord makes sure that you just only get dust, right? Only the dust comes on your face, maybe. So the Lord actually, for the devotees, protects them, and also reduces the punishment to a great extent. And so the devotee must always think that this punishment is coming for my purification. So if we can tolerate these difficulties and continue with our devotion, then then the Lord will always and always protect us, and whatever will happen will always be beneficial for us. So that understanding should be there. And since this is a world where Krishna himself says that it is dukkhalaya ashashvatam, the difficulties will come, and the correct understanding is to tolerate them and have faith in the Lord that he will protect us. Okay, let's move on. So now she's talking about all the difficulties from which the Lord had protected her children and her. So Vishayan Maha Agne Purushad Darshanad Asat Sabhya Vanavasa Krichartha Mride Aneka Mahartha Shastro Droni Astras Chashma Hare Bhirakshita. So now Kunti Maharani is remembering all the things from which the Lord protected her. So let's look at the translation. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from poison cake. Vishat, right? So when Bhima was a small child, he was actually fed a cake which was poisoned by Duryodhana in order to kill him, and the Lord protected Bhima. Then Maha Agne means from a great fire, and this great fire was actually set. The house of the Pandavas was set on fire. They were sent to a home which was made of lac, and it was set on fire. But the Lord protected Kunti and her sons from this fire, from the cannibals, Purushad Darshanad, right? So in the exile, they Hidimbasur and other demons tried to eat them. So, and the Lord protected them. And then Asat Sabhaya, sorry. So that is the vicious assembly, right? And why is it called Asat? Because there were many elders who were sitting there, and a woman was being stripped naked. So and nobody protested against it. So that's why it is called Asat Sabhaya. It was not true. It was not truth. It was Asat, right? Vicious. Asat means vicious here. And from suffering during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought, right? Mride Aneka Mahar Artha Shastratu. So in the battle of Kurukshetra, there were many great generals, right, against whom Arjuna and the Pandavas fought, like Bhishma, Drona, right? And all of these, Karna, and all of these were Maharthis, and the Lord always protected Arjuna and the Pandavas by making plans to defeat them, right? And it was only due to the presence of Lord Shri Krishna that Pandavas could win the war of Kurukshetra, and Draupadi is recognizing this. And then finally she is that, right, now you have protected us from the Astra which was released by the Ashwatthama, right? So that is what she is saying. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. So she is remembering all the times when the Lord has protected the Pandavas, and she is talking about all the dangers where they got protection from the Lord. This shows her gratitude, right? She is expressing a gratitude to the Lord and remembering all the times when the Lord had protected them. So let's move on. Now this is a very dramatic prayer. Actually, nobody would, I mean, an ordinary person cannot pray like this. So let's look at it, what it means. Vipada santu taha shashvat tatra jagadguru bhavato darshanam yat syad apurna bhava darshanam. So what is she saying here? I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. Apurna bhava darshanam. Bhava means this material word. Darshanam, I mean, will not see this. Bhava darshanam, seeing repetition of birth and death. So, so, so what Kunti Maharani is saying, that let those calamities come again and again, because once those calamities come, we remember you, and we can see you. You come to protect us, so we can see you now. Because we can see you, we will no longer have to see repeated births and deaths. So she's praying that let the difficulties come. We generally go and pray to the Lord, please protect us from these difficulties. But Kunti Maharani is doing the reverse. She's asking for more difficulties to come, so that she can see the Lord again and again. And this is something pretty unusual, because generally, uh, I mean, when we pray, we pray to the Lord to get something, to ask for something. But here she's asking for for the difficulties to come, so that uh, she can see the Lord, and when she can see the Lord, there will be a that she will be delivered from the repeated births and deaths. Now, you might say that this is again a transaction, right? That that she's asking I mean, she's doing it because she finally wants something, right? That apurna bhava darshanam, that there is no repeated births and deaths. But that is what is the goal of life, right? We need to have some goal, and the goal is to get released from this material world. So she's asking for that ultimate goal. So that is not transaction, that is not something material. See, when you ask for something material, that is where it is transactional. But if you are asking for, if you are asking for bhakti, if you are asking for spiritual progress from the Lord, that is not transaction, that is transcendental. And the Lord is very happy to grant that. So that is what Kunti Maharani is asking for. Okay, let's move on. So what she's saying further is Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shri Bher E Dhamana Madha Pumam Naivarti Abhidhatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. So let's read the translation. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So, what Kunti Maharani is saying? Janma Aishwarya. Janma means high birth. Aishwarya means opulence. And Shruta means knowledge. And Shribir means beauty. So if you are hankering for these, I mean, if you, let's say, if you have this, right, you have a high birth, you have great opulence, you have great knowledge, and you are very beautiful physically, strong and beautiful, then you can dhamana madha pumam, you can get pride because of this. You might start thinking that all this, I mean, you might start thinking that I am the doer. I can take care of myself by my ability, um, and you might become puffed up due to that. And because you can become puffed up due to that, you cannot then take the name of the, you cannot call out for the God, right? You cannot take his name uh, with helplessness, right? And when that is what, so you cannot basically describe your feeling to the Lord of helplessness. And so it is very easy, if you don't have any of these, that you can call out the names of the Lord, right? But then if you look at it, it doesn't mean that that only the poor people can achieve the Lord, or only the ugly people become devotees of the Lord, or somebody who doesn't have knowledge will become the Lord. No, what it means is you can have all these possessions, But if you're not possessive about them, then it is okay, right? Because all of this will come based on your past karma. So it is all given by the Lord himself only. But the point here is, if you do not become possessive, or you do not become puffed up because of these qualities, you can achieve God very easily. So it doesn't mean that only the poor or somebody who does not have this will become a devotee. But what Kunti Maharani is warning about is, don't become puffed up because you have this. That will become a disqualification. Um, and we have many examples, right? We have examples like Prithu Maharaj. All these were great emperors. Parikshit Maharaj himself, he was the king of the whole world. Now, did he not have Aishwarya? Yes, he had Aishwarya. Was he not of good birth? Yes, he was of good birth. Did he not have knowledge? He had everything, right? But still he could become a first-class devotee of the Lord because they were not attached to any of these. And that's what even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the Shishtastakam, right? Na janam, na dhanam, na sundarim kavitam va jagadish kame, right? He's not, he's saying that I don't want all of these. I just want to have your bhakti. Bhakte adokshaje, right? Uh, so that is what should also be our aim, that we get bhakti. And if these are there, we can still use them in the service of the Lord. All of these can be used in the service of the Lord. And that is what Kunti Maharani is saying here. Let's move on. Namo akinchana vittaya nivritta guna vrittaye atma ramaya shantaya kaivalya patay nama. So my obeisances are unto you, who are the property of the materially improvised. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes of nature. You are self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and the master of the monist. So she is again continuing to describe the qualities of the Lord. And she is saying that you are the property of the materially improvised. So like, for example, let's take Sutta Goswami or Sanatan Goswami, right? He was very rich, but he became, I mean, he gave up all of his wealth and he became materially improvised, right? Now, he could, I mean, that Sanatan Goswami could give Krishna to anybody, right? And Sanatan Goswami had a very, I think Sanatan Goswami only, yeah, he had a very precious jewel, and he used to keep it in, I mean, he used to just simply ignore it, and he used to just neglect it. And someone, a common person, found that in the in garbage, and then he went to Sanatan Goswami and asked him, why did you keep this precious jewel there? What is more precious to you? Can you give me that? I mean, the person understood that since Sanatan Goswami is not interested in this precious jewel, there must be something more precious that he has. And then Sanatan Goswami gave him the chanting of the names of the Lord, and told him that this is more precious than this precious stone which I have. So the Sanatan Goswami, through his example, right, is teaching us that that in this world, the most precious is the name of the Lord. And somebody who does not have, I mean, only people who have that devotion can give devotion to others. So they might be materially improvised, but they can give you something very, very precious which no one can give you. So that is what Kunti Maharani is saying, that you are the property of the materially improvised. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material modes. So the Lord is, she has already stated that, right, in the first prayer itself, that you are beyond the material cosmos, correct? And here she is saying you are Atmaram, you are self-satisfied. So what we should understand here is that when we do service to the Lord, we are not doing any, I mean, the Lord does not need our service, but it is the mercy of the Lord that he is ready to accept our service. He's self-satisfied. He doesn't need any of the service which we provide him, but it is for our benefit that we should serve him and pray to him, and that will help us rather than he being interested in our service, right? So that should always be the understanding, that the Lord is self-satisfied, and it is just that his mercy that he is ready to accept our service. People think that why do we offer so much to the Lord, or why are we wasting some things? So that understanding is not there, and that's why they cannot um, they cannot make progress in bhakti. Uh, right. Let's move ahead. What's the time? I'm sorry. I can continue, Prabhuji, right? I'm not able to see the clock.
8:20, bro.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, 8:22. You can continue, Prabhu.
Yeah. So continuing her praise. So what she says here is Manne tvam kalam ishanam anadi nidhanam vibhum samam charantam sarvatra bhutanam yan mithakali. So let's read the translation. My Lord, I consider your Lordship to be eternal time, the supreme controller without beginning and end, an all-pervasive one. In distributing your mercy, you are equal to everyone. The dissensions between living beings are due to social intercourse. So even in Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord says that time I am, and I have come here to devour everyone, right? So Kunti Maharani is also saying the same thing, that you are kalam, right? You are the eternal time, and you are without beginning and without end, right? And so she's basically describing the like you can say uh, uh, opposing qualities of the Lord, right? He's nidhan anadi nidhanam, without beginning and without end, but we can see that he descends into this world, right? And vibhum, he's all pervading, he's merciful, and he's merciful to all. He's not partial, and that was also a question which comes in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Where I think Yudhishthir Maharaj asked Narad Muni whether the Lord is partial or not, and then the story of Prahlad Maharaj and Narsimha Dev comes, if I'm remembering it correctly. So again that question comes there, whether the Lord is impartial, or because we see that he always kills the demons, right? So is he partial or is he impartial? So even in the killing of the demons, he is actually blessing the demons, right? They get liberation from this material world. And so Kunti Maharani is saying that you are everywhere, and you are impartial to your mercy. You distribute your mercy impartially. You are equal to everyone. You do not have any enemy, nor do you have any friends. And Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, right? I don't, and that there is a shloka where he says that the devotees are dear to me, but I am not partial to anyone, right? We had done that shloka in our Bhakti Shastri. So this is what she's praying. Continuing forward, let's go ahead. Right now, I'm sorry, I will not read this. Let's read the translation only. Oh Lord, no one can understand your transcendental pastimes, which appear to be human and are so misleading. You have no specific object of favor, nor do you have any object of envy. So she's just continuing from the last prayer where she's saying that you do not favor anybody, right? People only imagine that you are partial. See, it is our imagination. It is only our imagination that the Lord is partial. Otherwise, he is not partial. He's not. He does not. He has no specific object of favor, nor he envies anyone. Right? And it is only our imagination that the Lord is partial. And your pastimes are transcendental, though they appear to be human and misleading. So Kunti Maharani is vidambanam, right? She's saying vidambanam. She's bewildered because of that. And though they appear to be human and are so misleading. So the Lord's pastime may appear to be human, but they are not. They are always transcendental, and his birth is transcendental. His disappearance is transcendental. So that is what Kunti Maharani is saying here. Let's move on. Janma karma cha vishvatmanam aja ajas yaktur atmana tiryan nar shishu yadashu tad atyanta vidambanam. So of course it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work, though you are inactive, and that you take birth. You have, though you are the vital force and the unborn, you yourself descend among the animals, men, sages, and aquatics. Verily, this is bewildering. So, so she's describing the. I mean, see, what she's trying to say is that you work though you are inactive. So she's describing the opposite. I mean, this is contradictory, right? So she's describing that contradictions, and then saying that that you take birth though you are the vital force and the unborn. So how can you understand this, that he takes birth and yet he's unborn, right? So and that's what is causing bewilderment to Kunti Maharani. In fact, we also get bewildered. And if you look into the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, they are actually they express these contradictions. Like, I'll give you some examples. Now in Mahabharata, right, the Lord is protecting Draupadi by supplying the saris, and on the other hand, he's stealing the clothes of the gopis, right? So this is a contradiction, right? At one place he's trying to supply the sari to Draupadi, and at other place he is taking away the clothes of the gopis. Another one is like the Lord is known as Achyut, right? The infallible one. Now, in the pastime where he is trying to take the fruits from the lady, he is holding some grains in his hand and walking, and the grains are falling from his hand, right? So again, that is another contradiction, right? Somebody who is infallible, and from his hand, actually the grains are falling. So you can see this contradiction. Another one is like, he's the king, right? He's the son of the king, but he's still stealing butter. So if you look at it, these are all contradictions of the pastimes of the Lord. And that is what Kunti is also saying here, that that you work though you are inactive, and then you take birth though you are the vital force and the unborn, right? And she's saying that you descend among animals, right? The Lord takes the Matsya avatar, men, right? Nar, nar is what men, and sages and aquatics, right? So the Lord takes birth into all of this, and this is all bewildering to Kunti Maharani, right? And so she's describing all these contradictions of the Lord. Then in the next sloka, she remembers actually one of the contradictions of the Lord, and she's remembering that past time where the Lord is bound by Yashoda, and what she's saying here is that, let's look at the translation. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you are afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. So she is now remembering a very specific contradiction of the Lord. What she's saying is that the fear personified is fearful of you, and you are fearful of your mother, and there are very specific words here, like vaktaram ninya bhaya, right? So he's looking down, and he's the Lord is fearful. It's just like somebody who is getting punished, right? When you stand before the judge, you put your head down and you're waiting for punishment. That's how the Lord is standing before his mother, and he's the supreme person, right? Still he is enacting those enacting as if he's a normal child, right? And giving pleasure to Yashoda Maya, right? And all this is very bewildering to Kunti Maharani. So she's remembering those contradictions of the Lord, and saying that these all have bewildered me. This pastime, and this being the Kartik Mass, we always pray to the Lord Damodar, right? And she is remembering that pastime of the Lord. So uh, we pray to the Lord Damodar, and we remember this pastime of the Lord during this month of Kartik. Uh, let's move on. So Kechid ahur ajam jatam punya shlokasya kirtaye yado priya asyanavaye malaya sevaya chandanam. So she says, some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of the pious king, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malay hills. So she's now giving reasons why the Lord appears on this earth. So she's saying that some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of the pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu. So the Lord has taken birth to for the glorification of the pious kings like Yudhishthir Maharaj, that he has taken birth so that there will be glorification for such pious kings like Yudhishthir Maharaj and Prithu Maharaj and others. And others say that he is born to please King Yadu. He's born. The Lord has taken birth because he wanted to please Yadu, who is a great devotee of the Lord. And so you appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malay Hills. So just naturally, as sandalwood appears in Malay Hills, you appear in the dynasty of Yadu Maharaj, one of your dearest devotees. So these are the one of the, in further shlokas, she'll give more reasons why the Lord appears. So here she's giving two things. One, for the glorification of the pious king, and other is to please the Yadu Maharaj. Let's move on. Apare vasuda devasya devakyam yachito abhagyat ajastvam asya shemaya vadhaya cha suradvisham. So she gives further reasons why you have appeared. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn. Yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of demigods. So again, she gives two reasons, right? Vasudeva and Devaki prayed to you for having a child like God, and so you have appeared to them. And the second reason she's giving is to kill people who are envious of the demigods. Vadaya cha sura dvishwam, right? So you kill somebody who is envious of the demigods, right? So these are again two further reasons she's giving that why the Lord has descended, right? Further down, she'll give more reasons. So let's read them. Others say that the world being overburdened like a boat at sea is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. So now what she's saying, that in order to reduce the burden of this earth, that you have taken birth. Second reason she's saying is that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you. So Lord Brahma asked Lord Vishnu to appear in the world, and so you have appeared here, and so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. So you have appeared for these two reasons. Going forward, again, further more reasons, right? And yet others say that you have appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping. And so in order that the conditioned soul suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. So she's saying that the Lord appears for setting up the religious principles and also setting up the uh, devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, right? And so in order that conditional suffering, so the conditioned souls can take benefit, can understand God and take advantage and gain liberation. So we have seen in these last 4 shlokas, Kunti Maharani giving reasons for the Lord to appear, right, to take birth in the material world. Okay. Going forward, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinati Abhikshanasha Smaranti Nandanti Tave Hitam Jana Ta Eva Pashyanti Achirena Tavakam Bhava Paravaho Paramanam Padam Bhujam. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasures in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Now, Kunti Maharani is giving us a process where by I mean, she had that question, right? That it is not easy to see God. Now she is explaining the process through which we can see God. So how can we see God? Those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities. Shravanam, Kirtanam, right? Smaranam. So she's repeating that. Hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so. Certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Right? So she's giving the process for us to see the God and to achieve his lotus feet. Let's move forward. I'll read the translation. Oh my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Now, are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enmity with us. So she is now saying to the Lord that you have executed your duties, you have protected us, but you are leaving us today. And she is very uh, grief stricken because the Lord is going to leave. And she's saying that you have protected us and you have taken care of us, but now you are leaving. And what she's thinking is that the war of Kurukshetra has ended, so there is still enmity. There are many kings who are with enmity with us. So you are leaving us, please protect us, right? So, and there is no one else to protect us. So she's actually very grief stricken that the Lord will leave Hastinapur, and then with this grief she's describing in the next few shlokas that because of the Lord what had happened, right? Because of him being present, what had happened. So let's look at those as well. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. So this is what she's saying, that if you leave us, what will happen is, as the body is finished, when the living spirit goes away. So you are the spirit and you are the reason because of which, I mean, like the Pandavas are the body and you are the spirit, and because if you will leave, we will all be like dead bodies, right? So and all our fame and activities will stop, right? So that is what she's trying to say, comparing the soul and taking the allegory of the soul and the body. So again, she's very much grief stricken to when seeing that the Lord is going to go to Dwarka and leave them. So she's trying to stop the Lord by praying and asking him to stay back in Hastinapur. So further going down, O Gadadhara Krishna, a kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. So it's all like what she's saying is, because you are present in our kingdom, that it is happy, beautiful, everything is going well. But now if you leave, everything will just go away. It's because of you that we are happy, and that is what uh, the devotee also says always, right? Because the Lord is there, I am happy, and because I am serving the Lord, I am happy. And that's what Kunti Maharani is also saying, that because you are present amongst us, because you were there in our kingdom, we were happy, and it appears beautiful. And once you go away, everything will be diminished, everything will fall apart. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. So she is again telling the Lord that only because you are present that we are happy. She wants the Lord to stay back, and that's why she's expressing her gratitude, and telling the Lord that it's only because of you that we are happy. Let's move on. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Yeah, this is an important shloka. So let's read this. Atha Vishveshvesha Vishwatmana Vishwamurte Swakeshu me Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi Dridam Pandushu Vrishnishu. So because Kunti Maharani was thinking about the Pandavas and the Vrishnis, she all of a sudden realizes that she's too much attached to them, and hence she's asking the Lord that, my dear Lord, please break this tie of affection from. Now Pandavas is the side of the family, the husband side of the family, and Vrishnis is the side of her maternal family, right? So she is saying that I've become attached to the Pandavas and the Vrishnis, and oh my dear Lord, um, please break this tie of affection for my kinsmen. I'm too much protective about them, right? She's always saying that you protected us. She's always talking about her children, and then so she's feeling that she's very much attached to them, and hence she's asking the Lord that please remove this affection for the Pandavas and Vrishnis, and to break that tie of affection. Now, does it mean that we should not be attached to the family? Is that what Kunti Maharani is saying here? Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi. Is that what it means? No, not exactly that, right? What we have to understand is that uh, we have a we have a relationship, right? We have we have our parents, we have our children, we have our wife, and we should be attached to them. But the understanding should also be there that our eternal relationship is with God, and that is also one of the most important relationship which we have. If we do not, if we ignore that relationship with God and just become too attached with our family and our um, and our uh, society and nation and all that, going up and up, then it is a problem. Otherwise, having affection for family, having affection for children, having affection for wife is not the problem. The problem is people totally forget the eternal relationship which we have with God. See, the relationship which we have with our family is kind of on the body level, right? Once this body goes away, those relationships go away. But the soul has an eternal relationship with God, and if we don't forget that, then these that is what should be the understanding. And if we keep that understanding, and if we have affection for our family, that is all okay. And that's what Kunti Maharani is meaning here when she says that please break this, because she was getting too attached, I mean, she's an exalted devotee, but just for us, she's saying that to make us understand that that you must not become too attached, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that you are not at all attached, because finally we are all children of God, right? And uh, hence we have to have that attachment and loving relationships between us. But what we should not forget is that the soul has an eternal relationship with God, and we should continue that relationship going forward. If we ignore that relationship, then all of these are become a problem, right? And that's what Kunti Maharani means here. Okay, let's move on. त्वयि मे नान्य विषया मतिर्मधुपते सकृत रतिम उद्धवत अधा गंगे वौघन उदानवती. So, O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn upon unto you without being diverted to anyone else. And this is what she is praying. She's saying that let my attraction constantly be drawn unto you. I do not want to be diverted it to anyone else. So she is asking for that that my attention, I mean, that I should not get diverted anywhere. Please break all those ties of affection which I have, and let my mind always be concentrated on you. Let me always think about you, just like as the Ganges flows to the sea. So again, this is like the prayer of a very exalted devotee, right? And we can see this, that she's asking for undivided attention to the Lord. We can see this in multiple prayers of the devotees where they ask the Lord for this one very thing, that please give us this bhakti, this so that we are always attracted to you, always be in serving relationship to the Lord, right? And Kunti Maharani is also asking for the same thing. And then she concludes her prayer with this. Let's read the translation. O Krishna, O friend of Arjuna, O chief among the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of all those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distress of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all the mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. So this is what she concludes with, right? And we can see these are very important things, right? She's talking about, as I said earlier also, you descend to relieve the distress of the cows and the brahmanas and the devotees, right? So the Lord is very, very particular about this. He descends for the protection of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. And she's saying that you possess all mystic powers, right? Yogeshwara, Akhila Guru, Bhagavan Namaste, right? She's now offering her obeisances to the Lord. Shri Krishna, Krishna Sakha, Vrishni Rishabhavani Driga, right? So you are the chief amongst the descendants of Vrishni. You are the destroyer of political parties. Driga means destroyer. Sorry, Driga means rebellious. So she's again praising the Lord and describing his qualities and his activities. And this, with this, she concludes her prayers. So this is I think the last prayer of Kunti Maharani. Yes, so that is where this chapter ends. If there are questions, I think we can take some questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
As you stated, it's a very important chapter for all of us to again and again read and remember. and you explained very beautifully, the important slokas about the prayers, and you gave a lot of examples and very clearly explained, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yes.
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji's Mataji, if you have questions, comments, supporting thoughts, please do share. Very important.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandot Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Dandot
Prabhuji. Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Happy Kartik Mass to everybody. And this was, I think, very well planned by Lord Krishna that Shreegopal Prabhu will take the first class of the Kartik month. And it was indeed a first class. And the best part that I really cherished in all throughout your lecture, Prabhuji. First 10 minutes, sorry I missed it. But throughout, what I really liked is how much you were involved while you were explaining us, as if felt that you were vouching on the part of Kunti Maharani and explaining her heart to us. No, it is very important, that kind of speaking. Actually, that kind of speaking comes when you really love something. And preaching is all about sharing love, right? So today's class was very special. In fact, till the end, the way you were quoting, you're reading the Sanskrit lines again and trying to insist what exactly she meant was amazing, Prabhuji. I think this is a very good thing that we all should also learn how to personally be involved in, it's not like repetition. It is more of your understanding and your feelings towards it when you're reading it. And this is one of the most cherished and read chapters of entire Bhagavatam, prayers of Queen Kunthi, right? And it's so nice that we are starting Kartik month with this. It is all getting planned up there. We don't know why, how. We never knew that this will be the day when Kartik month will start, and it will be the chapter that we will read. So I think things are pretty much happening very auspiciously because they are getting planned with the Supreme Lord. And your examples at every point, and especially the contradictory part of how Kunti Maharani was explaining the variegated specialities of the Supreme Lord, how he acts at different times in different ways and appears contradictory, but there is no contradiction. That portion really liked, Prabhuji. Thank you for that. And of course, the eternal teaching that you repeated today of that whatever happens in life, understand that is getting planned by God and have the faith that He is protecting you in a way that you may not understand, but He is protecting you. So that was very touching to my heart. And every time I hear that, it reassures about everybody's condition. Yesterday, I thought I'll just share something. Can I share something for you?
Oh, sure, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Sure.
Prabhuji.
Okay. No, yesterday I went to my friend's funeral. It was a very touching moment for me. And sometimes it's very important we go to these places and actually see what life is. So he was my very close friend in my college days, which is close to 20 plus years. I can't believe it's 20 plus years. And his name is Pawan Galada. So he comes from a very nice opulent family. They run a big car showroom in Kondapur. So it's been like that for some time. And they know he has a brother and a sister, and he has a small child who's 12 years old. And he lives in a very nice place, very close to Tank Bund, with the view of the Tank Bund, right? So, but apparently I couldn't meet him. I was expressing some challenges I was facing in cow protection and in my college group, and because some of them are farmers. So he called me back after like 20 years and said that I can arrange people for you. And talk and from Bihar and all that. So anyway, so yesterday when I went, it was very heartening to see, the whole family situation when somebody leaves, and really explained, what this material world is all. He never smoked. He never drank alcohol. He doesn't eat any non-vegetarian. Generally the family is very pious family. And not that he works stressed out. He never is stressed out. In fact, we used to call him the cool guy, never taking anything seriously. And out of the blues, he gets this stomach pain, simple stomach pain, acidic. He goes to the doctor and doctor says everything is fine. Next day morning, he gets up, vomits, collapses and dies. There's nothing, the whole family is shocked. They don't know what to react. So see how one of his cousins was telling me, if this can happen to him, what hope do we all have? Absolutely fit guy, not a single inch of tummy outside, right? I mean, the guy is, he runs, he jogs on Rajbhavan Road, everything right, and everything wrong. I was so shocked to see that. And my college friends came, and some of them, I couldn't stand there for too long. I could not take, though we read so much philosophy, it kind of explains us how this world is. But in Kunti Maharani's prayer, she's saying, give me misery. That's when we can remember Krishna. Yesterday I was remembering Krishna a lot when I was standing near him. I looked at his altar. I also saw Krishna's picture there. So I'm sure he would have been praying to Krishna as well. The most painful thing I wanted to share, Prabhuji's and Mataji's, is his father. See, for a father, there is nothing more painful than seeing his son die. Right? And that to a 46-year-old son who has a daughter who is 12 years. And there's so much to do. And his father is diabetic, right? Is diabetic, and is so diabetic that he's lost his sight. Hardly 2% sight or 3% sight is left. Meaning, if he walks also, he needs somebody to guide where he's going and all that. That is the situation. And he cannot sit down. He's too old. He's 80 years old. So very tall person though. So they took him to the dead body. He said, "I want to touch my son," right? And I was beside him. I don't know his family much, but I was just beside him. And there was one more person, I think his uncle or somebody, who made him sit in a chair just beside the dead body. And his father, was telling, "Keep my hand on my son's face." So they took his hand and kept on his son's face. And the person who was keeping it was also bending, right? He was sitting on a chair and he was bending and helping him keep the hand on his son's face. And then the father started crying. And that moment, whole family started crying. Whole family was touching his face and he was crying. And the person who was bending and keeping the hand started crying, and almost he was about to fall because he's bending and crying. His wife I really felt, what is this world? What kind of place we are living in? It's merciless. It's horrible. We cannot be here. We cannot see such things happening. It was very heartening. I know. Some of you might feel that it happens this way, but for me, that very scene where the whole family started crying, looking at him, was too much. And we should not see that, Prabhuji and Mataji. Better not come back here to this world, because unfortunately, we might be forced to different ways. I hope not the same way, seeing our children in front of us. No, we don't want that. But this material world is so horrible that you call it past karma or nature of the world itself, right? We have chosen to be in this ride. When you're a roller coaster ride, you can't say it's going too fast. So when you are in this material world, you can't complain, why is it behaving like this? So what is going to happen will happen. But let us remember these prayers of Kunti Maharani, like how beautifully they were read today morning. Shloka by Shreegopal Prabhu. Let's remember that. And let's keep meditating that. In fact, one of the things that I learned from Radhesham Prabhu, which I really want to practice, is when he likes a chapter like this, he completely by hearts the entire chapter. And he every day recites the whole chapter. Whole chapter he keeps reciting, remembering the shlokas and the words. Something that, it's not that difficult. Over a period of time, you learn how to do it. But devotees do that, especially Gajendra Moksha, some people learn. Even prayers of Queen Kunthi are similar kind of exalted prayers. So this is the beginning of Kartik Mas, and let this Kartik month be very special, us remembering the prayers of great devotees from Bhagavatam. And I also want to take this opportunity to invite everybody on this call to our house today. We are trying to decorate, Krishna in a different way, but since yesterday, whatever I'm doing is going wasted. I don't know why. Krishna is really testing my, patience, and he's really testing my intentions, maybe. So I made something with thermocol. It completely got burnt up. I made it again. It started leaking. I made it again. I put paint on it, completely melted. So I don't know what's going on. Really, you want me to do something or just sit down and say, okay, this is how you are? I don't know, but something is going on. So please, everybody, come and let's sing Kirtan together. Let's cry together. That's actually the right way to say it. Let's cry together and pray together, calling God's names and asking for mercy. Thank you, Shreegopal Prabhu. Sorry I took a little more time than I thought.
No, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, so we'll close, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Any further comments, questions?
Thank you, Prabhu. Such a wonderful session. There are so many important points in this particular chapter. It's really wonderful, Prabhu. You have put all the important points together, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Haribol.
So there is a book actually written by Prabhupada himself, right? The teachings of Kunti Maharani, right? So this book. So these prayers are actually, I mean, this 26 prayers. There is a chapter each on that, and he has given a name to each of them, and you can read this. This is really good, really wonderful. You can read this book, Teachings of Queen Kunti. There are much more detailed explanations actually given here than in the purports itself. So some of them are same actually, but beyond that, a lot of explanations is given in this book.
Yes, Prabhu. It's a wonderful chapter actually. For all this. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Shrikal.
Thank you. Panchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhayeva cha patitanam
Vyapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
namo.
namo namah. Anantakoti Vaishnava ki
Jai.
jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful lecture today. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.